For the longest time, I thought doing the work meant getting things done, sticking to the project, following through on the plan, waking up early, staying focused, building something, consistently, without falling apart halfway through. And when I couldn't do that, when the focus wasn't there, when I'd start something and abandon it 3 days later, when the procrastination would swallow another week whole, I'd come to the same conclusion every time. I'm not doing the work. Everyone else is doing the work. All these spiritual people, the ones posting about their morning routines and their breakthroughs and their growth, they're doing the work. And I'm not. I'm failing at the one thing that's supposed to change everything. What I didn't understand then, what I couldn't have understood then, is that awareness isn't something you decide to have. It arrives when it arrives. And when you're in the eye of the storm, you don't even know you're in it. You can't step back and observe a pattern you're completely inside of. You can't do the work when you don't yet know what the work actually is. And calling yourself a spiritual person doesn't protect you from that. If anything, it adds another layer. Because now, on top of the storm, there's the guilt of being a spiritual person who should know better, who should be more aware, who should have figured this out by now. The shift, when it finally came, didn't look like what I expected. There was no moment of clarity, no breakthrough, no morning where I woke up and suddenly understood everything. I just got tired. Tired of the waiting. Tired of the disappointment. Tired of building myself up for something and watching it not happen. Again. And then having to pull myself back together and start all over. Again. That cycle, the hope, the crash, the rebuild, the hope again. I'd been in it so long I didn't even recognize it as a cycle anymore. It was just life. And then one day, not dramatically, not with any fanfare, something in me just loosened. Not because I fixed anything, but because I was too exhausted to keep fighting. And in that exhaustion, I started doing something I hadn't really done before. I started looking at the simple stuff. Not the big spiritual work, not the manifestation practice or the morning routine or the 5-year plan. Just, what does rest actually feel like for me? What does being kind to myself actually look like on a Wednesday afternoon when nothing is going right? What does self-love actually mean when you strip away everything you've read about it and just ask yourself honestly, what do I actually need right now? Small questions, quiet questions, but they were mine, and that felt different. Something else started happening around that time too. Certain cycles started becoming visible. Now, some of them I already knew about. I'd known for a while, if I'm honest, but knowing something and being ready to face it are two different things. Because facing it has consequences. It disrupts things. It makes people uncomfortable. And I'd spent most of my life making sure people weren't uncomfortable. So I'd seen the cycle, filed it away, and kept going. But something had shifted in me, and I started having conversations I'd been avoiding. And I want to be honest about how those went. They weren't pretty. I was out of my comfort zone, and it showed. I didn't handle all of them well. Said things badly. Got it wrong sometimes. Came away from certain conversations thinking, that wasn't how I wanted that to go. But I'd had them, and that mattered more than I gave myself credit for at the time. Then there were the revelations I didn't see coming. Family dynamics that surfaced and genuinely shocked me. That particular feeling of, not you as well. Because when you start waking up to certain patterns, you expect to find them in certain places, in certain relationships. You've already made peace with those. But when it's closer than that, when it's your own, when you start to see a crabs-in-a-barrel situation inside your own family, people you love, people who love you, all running their own subconscious programming without even realizing it, that lands differently. It doesn't make them bad people. Everyone is just running what they learned, doing what their nervous system decided was safe a long time ago. But understanding that doesn't make it hurt less when you first see it. And then there were the shifts that weren't decisions at all. I noticed at some point that when my sister was annoyed with me, the old version of me would have rung straight away, smoothed it over, made sure she knew I was still on side, still safe, still the version of myself she was comfortable with. And I just didn't. Not because I made a choice to set a boundary, not because I'd read something or had a breakthrough about it. Just, I couldn't feel like doing it anymore. And instead of the guilt swallowing me whole like it would have before, I just thought, if someone wants to call, they can call. I'm not responsible for managing how people feel about me. That was new. Some of it was dramatic, some of it wasn't. Some of it I knew what I had to do. Other times a situation just presented itself, and I responded differently than I would have before. That's what the work actually looked like. Not clean, not consistent, just different enough to notice. So when people say, do the work, and I know how vague that sounds because it sounded vague to me for years, here's what I think they actually mean. It's not about productivity. It's not about how much you get done, or how consistent your morning routine is, or whether you manage to meditate for 30 days straight. It's about awareness. And awareness doesn't arrive because you tried harder. It arrives because at some point you got tired enough to stop running. And in the stillness, in the exhaustion, you started to see things. The cycle you'd been in, the pattern you kept repeating, the relationships that were costing you more than they were giving, the version of yourself you'd been performing for everyone else's comfort. And once you see those things, once they're visible, you can't unsee them. That's not a small thing. That's actually everything. The work doesn't always look like discipline. Sometimes it looks like finally resting without guilt. Sometimes it looks like asking yourself what you actually need instead of what you think you should need. Sometimes it looks like walking away from something you've been managing for years. And sometimes it looks like doing absolutely nothing and letting the awareness that's been trying to reach you finally arrive. You weren't failing all those years. You were in the storm, and you couldn't see it because you were inside it. But you're starting to see it now. And that's the work. That's exactly what it is. What did you think the work meant before you understood what it actually was? Drop it in the comments. I have a feeling I'm not the only one who got this wrong for a long time. Next episode is the last one in this series, and it might be the most important, because nobody talks about what healing actually feels like from the inside, what it looks like when it's happening, but you can barely see it yourself. That one's going to be worth staying for. This is Afro Sage.